Despite the fact that we've had this floor plan out for like a year, it's taken me this long to finally have one in stock long enough to record for you. What's made it so popular? That's what we're going to find out today. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Josh, the RV Nerd, here at Bish's RV, hanging out today at my Coldwater, Michigan hometown superstore. Feels like I've been here less and less lately, but never mind that. As I said, we've had this floor plan for like a year, but every time it comes in stock, it sells before I can get the camera to it. It's become the most requested Go Play camper in our lineup just because people haven't had a chance to see it on the channel yet. Now, it is obviously not a new floor plan, and I mean, the model number is taken straight out of the Cougar playbook. There's just not even any apologies for that there. But this is my personal favorite couples camping travel trailer floor plan because it gives you like a big open feel. I think a very good kitchen. I like that this has a taller ceiling and a heated belly and a factory standard solar package. I like that we get some campsite window coverage. We get a sofa and a dinette and a full-time bed in only 27-foot tip to tail in something that, generally speaking, will work for many of today's half tons, especially late model tow package half tons. We'll pretty much find this one very comfortable for towing and going around, even if you're going to go up and down some more adverse terrain like extra inclines and whatnot. And it's the fact that they pack all of that in, like, this is the smallest you can make something that gives you a full-time bed and sofa and dinette and decent kitchen. And it also has absolutely dynamite road mode travel access. When the slide is closed, you can use the bed, the dining, the kitchen, and the bathroom all without ever touching the slide out, even if you're a person of a little bit larger stature. Now, every builder and their brother has a floor plan like this. Grand Design Imagine came out with it first, and then everybody else has copied it from there. So just giving credit where it's due. But we went through and wanted to do a couple everyday user feature function things like drastically enhancing the bed storage, giving you an outdoor picnic table, standardizing the solar package, the stuff that a lot of other brands won't do for these dollars and cents, we've been able to include at the same money. And that's what I think has made this one so darn popular. Now, like any RV, it's got a couple downsides. Like I'll tell you, the bed situation is not what I would personally want, but we're gonna dive into that in more detail. If you appreciate the way that we show you the good with the bad, hit that subscribe button. Let's see what she has to offer. Now, as we go through this today, I'm going to ask you a bunch of seemingly innocuous, what seems like borderline stupid questions, but I think the longer you hang out with me, the more you're going to realize that. I always try to be fair in my videos and try to show you the good with the bad. Like, I like I call them cupception swivel stands, the cup holder that goes in the cup holder and then gives you the little place to be able to set a dinner plate. But I like to also be very fair and realistic with you about this. I don't know what it is about this floor plan, but those things don't lie flat. So depending on what you're doing with them, that might not be the friendliest, most conducive thing. And here's a pro tip for you. People ask me all the time, where do I get those things? I can't find them online. I don't know the full details, but I think Jayco has some sort of either exclusivity or potentially patent pending on those suckers. And it basically means that they're not available for like general resale, but we can get them through our Jayco parts departments at our stores, basically. Now, one other thing I want to point out, first of all, it is centralized air, even though it's mostly a one cabin, but that is a larger 15,000 BTU air conditioner. So there's going to be a couple things like a heated belly and a larger AC that we just do factory standard on these that not everybody who makes a floor plan like this will do. This is also a taller ceiling at 6'9" instead of 6.5 feet, which makes a big difference for somebody like me in the shower. Not to mention, it just means more what do I want to say? Cabinet storage, because things are taller. Now, we've been trying to improve our dinette arrangements on these. We know that folks are not necessarily in love with the knee knocker pedestal post. So what we did here is we went with a free-floating folding leg dinette. And this is a simple, basic camper, and these are simple, basic table legs. But you know what? They work. They work really well. And if you want to take the table out, you want to take it outside, it makes the table very portable. And keep an eye when you're shopping around, little power outlet down there. One of the questions I want you to ask when you are RV shopping and looking at all these different campers, because it gets overwhelming, doesn't it, guys? Ask yourself, where do I charge my phone? And start paying attention to little details like that. Here's another one of those really dumb, silly little questions I want you to ask yourself. Where do I hang a jacket? Well, we actually give you a little spot for that, or a dog leash latch, or a fly swatter. It's not that having a little hook by the door is the reason you're going to buy a Go Play versus something else. It's you're going to start seeing its drops in a bucket, and we feel we have filled more of that bucket up with everyday features and functions and not glorified camera friendly fluff stuff. We've tried to make this one of the most functional stick and tin couples campers out there. Not necessarily the flashiest or fanciest, but if you actually look at how people go camping and what they're going to use, we've outfitted it pretty nicely overall. We tried to give you some really respectable campsite window coverage here, where you talked about that floating little table arrangement. We have listened. You folks said we don't really like the heat vents in the floor, so we are working our best to try to not include those where possible. Again, I've tried to be fair though. If there's some goofiness like the little swivel stands here that kind of angle backwards so they're not the friendliest, I've tried to be fair, and I've tried to point that out too. But we know that you like cross breeze windows. The big window over the dinette and the extra large window here over the theater seating creates some awesome airflow right where you want it. And we know that not everybody prefers an open concept front bedroom like this. The reason that we've gone with this is because it makes the RV look and feel bigger, despite the fact that it's only 27-foot tip to tail. So it's only about a 22, 23-foot box effectively, because you got to factor in about 4 foot for the tongue and bumper. So we included a little privacy curtain there. It's nothing major. It's a tiny detail, but it's amazing how many brands for far, far more money don't do things like that for you. And I want you to ask questions. Like, do I wear clothes? And the answer is probably yes, unless you hang out at a clothing optional camping resort, of which there are several, even around this area. Well, what are you going to do with yesterday's clothes now that it's today? And it's not flashy, it's not fancy, but we gave you a solution. You know what most RVs offer you is what we call the four-corner clothing solution, where basically you've got four corners up by the bed where you're going to just plop and stuff all the clothes. Well, we actually just gave you a dedicated place for it. And if you don't like the laundry hamper, then don't use it. No big deal. Now, because we do have a taller ceiling, we could give you like shirt length hanging wardrobe closets, but also still give you some nice wide open side stands. So if you are a side sleeper, or if you do feel like slotting a wider bed in there, you could. Understand, if you put a wider bed in, this is a 60-inch residential width mattress. If you put a wider mattress in, you're going to be hanging under these side wardrobe stands, but they're tall enough that as long as you don't mind just your arms hanging out under that thing, you're going to be good. You know, I personally would like it if we had some USB plugs on either side of the bed. We don't, but I can always put a USB adapter in those household plugs and take care of it. I would prefer it if we had enclosed storage above the bed. We don't, but we do give you some totes right from the factory. Those aren't just decorations. Those are things that we said, hey, why don't we just put that up there so that there is a dedicated solution for this? And then we started going a step further. After seeing the immediate popularity and success of our bedroom arrangement that we have in our Go Explore laminated series exclusive to us here at Bish's, we realized immediately we were onto something that people really liked and were looking for. So we decided to come up with a variant of this for our Go Play series. And basically the underbed storage that you're looking at now will be found across pretty much all of the Go Play Stick and Tin series lineup like we're looking at today. Couple things we wanted to do. Just to give you a size reference, I brought a couple of those little totes down from above the bed, you might have noticed, just so that you could get an idea of the total space there. But we made it so that even though you can lift the bed, and we added the struts to make that easy, you don't have to, because the drawers open off the side for easy access. And if you don't care about the little laundry basket down there, that can be a handy clutter cutter shoe garage. That could be tote storage. I've seen people put like little dog pads down there. I've seen people put their pet dishes down there to feed the pets. I've seen people put cat litter boxes down there. And some people think that's an absolutely gross idea that they would never do. Everybody camps differently. We found a solution here that worked for a lot of different people effectively. I really do like that framing around the windows there. Sorry, squirrel. Anyway, The cabinetry is all pocket screwed lumber core, so it's not held together by two things: staples and your imagination. This being a more basic camper, not a fancy glamper. This is not like a electric fireplace and ceiling fans series. We typically don't have TVs included in a Go Play straight from the factory. These are sometimes for people who are still looking for a lot of camping, not glamping. Now, that doesn't necessarily work for everybody, so obviously we left a TV space there for you. But to give you a better, easier look at the free floating table legs and to show you how you could very easily, make this thing portable and move it around, I thought I'd kind of actually flip it out of the way for you. Another thing that can actually be really handy and really easy is if you get like a long plastic tote from Walmart or Target or Amazon or whatever, basically you can create your own drawers under the dinette. By default, this series doesn't add those extra little details. That's an easy thing to pick up. Those are the kind of extra things that we do seem to add quite often on our Go Explore series. But you might notice a trend here. Go Play is the just the facts, ma'am. It checks everything that matters and nothing that doesn't. And Go Explore is where things start to get a little more fluffy and interesting. Now, I love this. This actually wasn't our idea. Our production partner came up with this, and I think it's flawless execution. Because if you look, that storage, that pantry only goes halfway the depth of this wall over here. So at a glance, it feels like it's wasted. What it creates is a serious linen space in the bathroom area that I think is really smart. Now, these aren't removable or adjustable. If someone has even a small level of DIY skill, I don't think that would be very hard. That black box right there, by the way, that's your converter fuse panel, basically. Kind of just tucked away, but always going to be very easily accessed. Now, sometimes the color change in the woodwork that takes place in these models feels a little confusing, but in this model, I think it very clearly helps define, like, hey, there's the kitchen versus the living room entertainment area. Like they're very clearly separated as a result. Now, something else I want to point out is what we use very simple words to describe as a fully featured kitchen. There are a lot of manufacturers who have begun to delete propane ovens and go to an electric air fryer convection microwave oven. Now, personally, the way that I camp, that doesn't bother me. But we know that everybody camps a little bit differently, and we wanted to make sure that our RVs had all the equipment possible that we could really include in them. So we have maintained a full propane oven and a stovetop exhaust vent hood, which not every brand does, and we have also stuck with the larger 10 cubic foot 12 volt compressor fridge. A lot of brands have tried to suddenly quietly become $1 cheaper by going to a smaller 8 cubic foot. And it's those sorts of little things. It's the little details that you kind of take for granted that we've poured into here a little bit harder. Like, if we didn't do some of this stuff, the camper could certainly be maybe a couple pounds lighter and a couple bucks cheaper. But we're trying to include things like full plywood drawers instead of pressboard drawers, the slight upgrade to the cabinetry, the stuff that makes an everyday difference. That's kind of the Go Play advantage that we're looking at right here. There's actually aspects of this kitchen I think are almost better executed here on our more basic camper than on our little more fluffier, more expensive Go Explore, but they definitely each have a couple of their own cool highs and lows. Like, back here, this is where I'm like, oh yeah, this is where I'm going to keep the pitcher for the lemonade, the Kool-Aid, the sun tea, all that kind of stuff. Our southern cousins will be, you have your sweet tea, making jug up in that area. This, to me, it's like we decided to put USB plugs in this thing, but to me, that's like the weirdest place that we chose. Like, that's the hill that we chose to die on, that back corner for USB plugs. Well, all right, whatever. I guess at least we got them. Again, it's the little details, like actually including sink covers, where a lot of manufacturers just don't. Doing the dish drying rack and the cutting board 1-2 piece wombo combo there. There is one little thing here in this kitchen. It doesn't directly have a good space for a wastebasket, but I have not an ideal, but a kind of workaround. And I don't like to have to rely on workarounds when I'm camping, but RVing is a more basic, simple experience, and sometimes that's just part of camping, is that you are figuring out workarounds on things. And I realize I needed to back up because I've never actually shown you yet the dinette down in sleeper mode. Now, these are not extra large. They're only about 5 foot long. These are made for one small kid or one big dog or one unruly husband who tried to have an independent thought, ladies. Now, remember a second ago when I said there's parts of this kitchen I think are actually better executed here on our more basic trailer versus our fancier Go Explore? This bathroom to kitchen exchange is actually one of those areas. Because if one of these, like if you're in the kitchen and you're getting in the drawers, but somebody's coming out of the bathroom, in this camper, it's not a problem because that's a sliding pocket door instead of a swinging door, so you won't accidentally smash that drawer up. But remember I mentioned there is kind of a workaround for the wastebasket situation. One of the golden threads of our Wayfinder RVs is we want to ask the question, where are you going to put your garbage? Well, we try to always come up with some kind of solution. Maybe it's not always the ideal, most perfect solution, but still give you some kind of solution for it. Now, we don't have a cutaway countertop here, so I was really nervous about fitting in this space. But if you notice, it's actually what I call fairly fluffy friendly. Now, if you are a person of larger stature, it may not necessarily work for you, but you have all kinds of pocket space down here for the extra butt napkins. You can keep things like maybe some shavers or blow dryers kind of tucked out of the way here, but still available for everyday access. But one of the things that I think is really smart is this is the space behind the pantry. Having good, dedicated linen space built right here into this bathroom, I think this to me is just awesome, awesome execution. That is so, so smart. And you might have noticed when I was sitting down on the toilet earlier, I gave you a little sample that kind of like right next to the door, we have a couple more of these extra little hooks right here. Just a place to be able to dry some towels, when you're in the bathroom. And an actual medicine cabinet, not just a mirror glued onto the wall. And I know that the camera work in this bathroom is not exactly the most amazing thing you've ever seen, but it's a tight space, and I don't like using fisheye wide-angle lenses. I do also really like all the counter space that we have in here. Like, most bathrooms don't have that kind of counter space. Now, a lot of times it has to get cut away for elbow room, but again, I don't think this floor plan really suffers from that deficiency. Apologies that it looks like a Kool-Aid crime scene down here. It's a little bit of antifreeze kind of splattered around. But one of the other things that I want to point out is that this does have a taller ceiling at 6'9". Now, obviously, when I step up into the shower, it gets a little bit closer to my head. But I'm a little over 6 foot tall, wearing thick soled shoes, and I'm able to stand up in there no problem. And that's why we put the vent fan over the shower to kind of double as a skylight. It gives you the same function, but it does remove one of the potential leak points out of the ceiling of the RV, the roof, and still provides you that ventilation and the extra light when and if you need it. Now, one thing I meant to point out earlier, apologies, I kind of failed to do this. This is a short queen mattress. This is a 60 by 74, 75 inch, something like that, short mattress. But if you notice, there's plenty of room at the foot of that slide out. So this is a camper that is true queen capable, which is, I think, very important, because just being absolutely real with you, the factory mattress that comes in this thing is nothing to write home about. And it's kind of crazy, quickly even a small slide eats up a lot of space, but this is a more shallow Schwintek slide, which is a better application of that slide system. I like to try to point out the different slide systems that RVs use, because basically you folks have asked me to do that. And my goal with these videos is to just try to tell you the information that you're looking for. That's why I include all those weights and measures. I close the slides. I open up all the storage. So if the extra stuff that we're doing here for you is useful, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll just keep on keeping on like Joe Dirt. Now, I want to tell you real quick, here's a little RV pro tip. When you're traveling, you don't want to leave the table up like that. You want to fold it down into sleeper mode. So even though I've got the slide closed, we're kind of at like roadside stop mode. But that's kind of one of the cool things with this floor plan. With the slide closed, you could sit down to have a meal. We can get to the entirety of the kitchen. We can get to the bathroom. We can get to the front bed, obviously. You know, this is a very traveling, road stop friendly kind of floor plan. Now, I mentioned how this RV is True Queen capable. Here's another reason that I say that. If we start at the bathroom with the slide closed and start working our way back forward, first of all, you can see how you don't have to do too much of a sideways travel trailer two-step to navigate through here. But the way that this one kind of lays out and plays out, there's plenty of room at the foot of the bed. So even if you go with a 60 by 80 True Queen mattress, there's still plenty of room to be able to walk around it, which is reason number 37. I wish these things just had the True Queen bed straight from the factory. I'm still fighting for that. Let me know if that's something you think we should fight for, or if you think it's just not too big of a deal, and in the meantime, we'll step outside and talk towing. So what's it going to take to get this thing going down the road? Well, as I mentioned when the video first began, I think most of today's late model tow package half tons are going to find this very nicely within their limits. Now, I'm sure there's going to be that person who has like the tow package Ford Ranger, and they're wondering, hey, you know, can this fit within my capacities? I wouldn't personally tow this with a Ranger. I don't care if the math even comes out in the black. You start getting that Ford Ranger kind of mindset, and you end up getting yourself into some hot water here. I just personally wouldn't do it. Something I want to point out, look at the awning space on this camper. That is about as good as you're ever going to find in a stick and tin build. That's the thing. Remember, we really outfitted this with the idea of what are the features and functions that you're going to use and enjoy every single day. Those are the things that was the mindset we had in this. Now, like, it still has the generic butterfly, you know, 751 key lock kind of system here. We didn't go to the extent of putting fancy pants slam latches on this. We kind of reserved that stuff a little bit more for our Go Explore series. If it's not flashy and fancy, but it's functional, it'll appear here on a Go Play camper. But it's got to work first, you know. Like, you might notice, we actually included for you a picnic table, and we gave you a place to store it so it doesn't eat into, really, your big XL pass-through compartment. Notice that we gave you the big baggage doors on both sides right here. Sometimes people will ask, why do you include a picnic table when most of the campgrounds that I go to already have their own picnic table? Well, look on the left side of the screen. This is why right here. People like this. There are people who literally try to like rinse out and clean out their sewer hoses on the public picnic table. And beyond that, there's all sorts of wildlife in the area, and Lord only knows what they're doing on those tables, whether it's defecating or procreating. Either way, I don't want to have my hot dogs where that was happening. So we give you your own picnic table so that you don't have to worry about it. Now, it's not like gigantic world's biggest picture windows, but there's some decent campsite window coverage on this one, especially considering, like, if we somehow X-ray Superman vision straight into the RV right now, we'd be straight across from the theater seat. So the campsite window coverage is directly across from you. You can barely see it here, but above the door, you see that light silver strip. That's the factory standard 200-watt solar panel. And part of the reason that we include stuff like that is because of the information that we've gathered with the Bish's remote telehealth for campers program called RV Fix, which all Bish's customers get free the first year. But we actually have a remote RV service program that we offer to any customer, even if you bought from other stores, just to try to help the community. And one of the things that we found is the vast majority of what people thought were electrical problems were just dead batteries. So even though it's a couple bucks, we included a solar package on this just so that you don't have to worry about it. Now, it is a more simple, basic series of trailer. We're prepped for things like, you know, the backup camera, the ladder. One of the things that's a little harder to see is we actually do have a basic level of inverter prep on this. It's not super flashy. It's only like 3 or 4 outlets, but I think you can handle up to like a 2,000 watt inverter with the wiring for a couple key outlets. The back here has nerdism number 37. When the gas comes out the backside, ladies and gentlemen, that is a propanus right there. Perfect little gas grill cooker hooker. The underbelly, it's enclosed, but it's also forced air heated. And when you're in the stick and tin segment, there are not many brands that actually do force air heat their bellies. Transcend and Salem Wildwood are about the only two other ones I can overtly think of. There are a number of other brands that will have things like an enclosed belly, but it won't necessarily be also heated like we've done here. It's those extra little details, sometimes even where you can't see, that we wanted to include on this. And this is simple, this is basic, but a place for your hot, cold outside utility shower, your black tank flush, your city water hookup. But there's also a little blue valve on there where you can kind of bypass that depending on what you're doing. This is also still a gas and electric water heater. We've tried to maintain a couple of those within our lineup, although my experience has been it seems like tankless on-demand water heaters just continue to gain traction for manufacturers. I think because they're a little bit less expensive, and they do have some cool benefits, but to try to combat cost control factors, a lot of manufacturers have gone to that. We did still want to have something with a two-way water heater within our lineup somewhere. This model, one of the nice convenience factors, it is a single sewer hookup, also known as a solo crap tap if you are playing RV Nerd Bingo. You might notice we do have a Schwintek slide system. Some people like them, some people don't, some people are neutral. I just want to point it out. If that's a deal breaker for you, no problem. I respect it. We have plenty of other campers that might work for you. And even though we're up close and personal on this thing, it is nice to point out that we do have a stovetop exhaust vent hood on this sucker so that the hot air while you're cooking does get exhausted out of the RV. The tinted windows also help keep both the sunshine and the nosy neighbors out. Once again, we do have the full-size baggage doors on both sides of the camper. One of the nice aspects of that is, like, if cargo shifts or anything like that, it gives you a great place to be able to access everything without needing to, like, shove one of the kids in there and then drag them out by their ankles. That's always a fun way to get to your wheel chocks. So thanks again for tuning in. Again, I do apologize. There have been at least 4, 5 different times that I have set foot here at my dealership to try to get this thing recorded, and for whatever reason we were sold out, I was out that day, whatever the case was. It took me way too long to finally get this one on camera. But again, I think that's just testament to the fact that this has been very popular because I think it's very smartly equipped. It's not the best. I'm not saying this is the best version of this floor plan. It just has proven to be the best for a large number of people, because what's the best is always subjective to you. Now, naturally, you might be curious as to what one of these things is running in terms of dollars and cents. Always take a look in the video description where we leave you links to double check pricing and availability. And, if there's something else you'd like to see us do or improve or change on this, let us know. And if you're like, hey, I like this, but I just like it a little bit flashier and a little bit fancier, remember, we have our Go Explore X225 model, which is just this thing on steroids. So until next time, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.